Oh, wait, don't press start.
Crap.
No, okay, stop. One take, go.
Africa was always dominated by the other foreign countries who ruled Africa through spheres of influence and direct rule. This was called imperialism, and towards the end of World War II, it came to an end because of the rise of nationalism. Kwame Nkrumah was the first president of Ghana, and he said, "There is a new African in the world. That new African is ready to fight his own battle." Africa was shedding its shackles and beginning a new age. The obstacles and problems new nations faced were first obtaining the new freedoms they wanted. Many European countries would imprison leaders who began to rise to power. Another problem faced was uniting a divided country and agreed to be ruled under one government. There was also war, a huge population growth, and the lack of resources. Groups such as the OAU, Organization of African Unity, tried to achieve civil rights in new nations, but many nations went through boundaries, difficulties, and dictatorships. Boundaries played a key role in forming nations because it gave power and also allowed families to be united. However, with arguments comes war, and many wars were fought between countries to decide the new boundary lines. Advanced nations such as Great Britain and other European countries wanted cash crops and minerals from Africa, but less developed countries such as Sahel struggled to maintain their countries, but places rich with minerals such as Nigeria and its oil and Zaire with its copper became developing nations. With the constant threat of war and famine, it kept many countries on edge. When South Africa began to change, a small minority of whites were placed in charge of the general black population. They adopted new policies and made new laws that inhibited the rights of black Africans. The South African government adopted a new policy called apartheid, which called for segregation between the colors and the whites. They also outlawed the ANC, African National Congress, and many leaders were imprisoned or exiled. This didn't change until 1989 when a reform leader named F.W. de Klerk was elected president. He freed Nelson Mandela, and together they worked to stop apartheid, and in 1994 the first black president of South Africa was elected. After World War II, Palestine, which was conquered by Germany, was turned over to the UN. The Jews wanted a new nation to be formed to rebuild their nation. So, the UN gave them part of Palestine to help them rebuild. Almost immediately, 6 Arabic countries declared war on Israel, but Israeli troops drove them back. The Israeli troops were well trained and well armed. The clashes continued for the next 4 years. Ethnic conflict arose over religion and how the resources could be divided between different people. Oil companies were highly interested in the region, and not many fundamentalists wanted that. They preferred the strict law of Islam, and allowing Western influence was not welcome to the countries that had the oil. In 1979, the followers of Ruhul Khomeini, an Ayatollah, which means a fundamentalist, led a revolt against the Shah in Iran. Ruhullah continued to attack other neighboring countries, trying to force them to obey the strict laws of Islam. In 1987, Palestinians in Israel started an intifada, or civil disobedience. Middle East nations have gained independence through a long fought debate with European countries. A number of these states possess the major resource, oil, more than half the world's supply. When they became independent, they gave even greater control of the oil deposits. When they got amazing wealth, it came with problems. Iran saw the influence of Western ideas and technology a threat to Islamic culture. Iran favored fundamentalism and captured 52 Americans in an act of terrorism. They held the Americans hostage for over a year. However, it didn't stop there. Iraq was beginning to adopt American culture, so they attacked Iraq. This began the Iran-Iraq War, which killed more than 1 million people and lasted almost 10 years.